A hostage situation or a voluntary sit-in? Things came to a standstill last week at the Gold One mine when the rivalry between the two unions, the National Union of Mineworkers and the Association of Mineworkers and Construction Union, reached unprecedented levels. Good evening and welcome to Unfiltered. I'm Sizwe Mpofu-Walsh. While there's contestation about what really happened at Gold One mine, there's no confusion about the fact that this is another one of the clashes between these two mining unions. Since 2012, there have been reports of the two being at loggerheads. But what is at the core of this rivalry and when will it end? Joining me for this discussion in studio, we have the president of the National Union of Mineworkers, Mr. Balepile, and via Zoom, we're joined by the Association of Mineworkers and Construction Union President, Mr. Joseph Mathunjwa. Let's watch this insert produced by Jacqueline Maphala for some context.
What is really happening underground is that the employees are sitting down there willingly. It's not an hostage. We are crying out loud, we are bleeding. We've been here in Gold One for many years. We are not earning enough money. We are not able to support our families. So employees have to sit underground for a sitting so that the management can hear them. Unfortunately, he seemed not to care. He seemed not to reply to whatever that the employees are asking for. So even as members of AMCU, we are standing outside here to support them, to show that we are also crying, we are bleeding inside for everything that's happening here in this company.
No, we were not part of that meeting. It was only company and AMCU. However, the briefing that we got, it was that meeting was not fruitful. And that is why now this matter is in the hands of South African Police Service.
Conflicting statements about the turn of events at the Gold One mine in Johannesburg, where over 500 mine workers remained underground for 3 days. The incident once again exposed the acrimonious and adversarial relationship between NUM and AMCU. The National Union of Mineworkers has been organizing workers across South Africa's mines since 1982. But its foundations were rocked during the 2012 Marikana incident when a newcomer union, AMCU, became the majority union at the Lonmin mine, where it led workers on a wage strike. Since then, reports of rivalry over membership have emerged at other mines, including the 2015 clash at Sibanye Gold in the Free State, the 2016 clash at Northern Mine, where an employee lost his life, and the 2019 clash at Sibanye Gold in Carltonville. At the recent Gold One mine incident, reports say the main clash was over organizing rights.
In relation to the membership, we are still confirming here today that we are the recognized union, in particular for category 8. For the category that is at the level of management, there is a union called Solidarity that is a recognized union. So we are those two unions that are recognized here. We are a majority union in this company.
At the center of these clashes are mine workers, many of whom rely on strong unions to fight for better working conditions on their behalf, but end up as collateral damage as a result of the ongoing feud. Last year, the two unions announced that unity talks in face of retrenchments and unfavorable economic conditions. But it seems for now that unity remains a pipe dream.
The meeting of yesterday, it wasn't the last one, but we had prior meetings before. So in the meeting yesterday, it was initiated by the CCMA in order to assist the parties in terms of Section 150 of the LRA, so that they can mitigate the situation and hopefully bring, a settlement to the matter. But the company participated in the meeting. AMCU participated in the meeting, but however, NUM officials, they just came there and said they're not interested in the process, and then they maintain their ground that they do not want to see AMCU anywhere this mine.
Tonight we ask, when will the rivalry between the two unions be resolved?
Welcome back to Unfiltered. Mr. Mathunjwa, could I start with you? In terms of the recent events at Gold One, is there anything new to report in terms of your communications with the company surrounding the events that we saw around the Moda East shaft recently?
Good evening to yourself and good evening to President Comrade Daniel of the National Union of Mineworkers. No, there is nothing that I can report from management to AMCU.
What is your understanding of what happened at the Moda East shaft? We've heard many different assessments, some saying that this was a legitimate sit-in around the question of mine worker representation, others saying that this was turned into a hostage situation. What's your view of what happened and the AMCU perspective?
Yeah, I think maybe one should caution media of trying to create a narrative that there is kind of animosity between the National Union of Mineworkers and AMCU. I've seen this narrative being built up since this incident that took place at Modderfontein. AMCU does not dispute that NUM is a majority union. They have a full organizational right at the workplace, and furthermore, they do have a closed shop agreement at the workplace. However, AMCU did recruit some members who came and joined AMCU, and we followed Section 21 through management, of which management never process or grant us any organizational right, and then our regional structures declared a dispute, of which was heard by the CCMA, and there was no resolution to that matter. The certificate of non-resolution was issued, and then the region informed the management through the notice of 48 hours that they will be embarking on protected industrial action in pursuant to the organizational right. Subsequent to that, the management never gave us audience, and they went to labor court to interdict the strike, of which it was interdicted. That's where we end. The strike that was supposed to be called by AMCU in pursuant of organizational right at the workplace, which is within our right, and then it was interdicted through the labor court, of which they made clear that there is a closed shop agreement signed by the National Union of Mineworkers. So therefore, to say that AMCU had a sit-in, it was NUM members who my understanding, protested against its trade union and the management in pursuant of freedom of association. Yes, indeed, we have over 1,700 stop orders that have been signed by the workers, the employees of Gold One, who are still currently NUM members since our stop orders hasn't been processed. So later we will deal with Section 26 of the closed shop agreement.
No, absolutely.
But for now, let me pause there.
We will come to you, and it's interesting to hear your perspective on that. Mr. Balepile, what's your view of what happened at Gold One Moda East, and do you share the perspective of Mr. Mathunjwa?
Yes, to a larger extent. Thank you, Comrade Mathunjwa, President. Then I want also to agree with you. This narrative all the time that is being posed that there is a rivalry between NUM and AMCU is really annoying to some extent. That being said, is a fact that at some point, Sizwe, these two unions will I don't want to use words fight, will pursue membership at the expense of other union, and that one is normally given. Now, that cannot be classified as two unions that are fighting literally for membership. Yes, of course, AMCO from time to time and NUM from time to time will try to pursue in terms of membership it whatever mine, without really fighting each other. Now, that is the thing that I wanted to clarify and agree with President Mathunjwa. Now, that being said, it is true and correct that as things stands, we know that we are a majority trade union in that mine. We are sitting around 1,002, 1,003, not 1,007, neither 1,008, because the total employees are 1,008. Out of that 1,008, we are sitting around 1,002, 1,003, is where the NUM is sitting. Now, the issue of whether these members, the NUM members or not, yes, it's true, because the stop orders of AMCO didn't go through. Mr. Mathunjwa just clarified in terms of the process that they were undertaking, and then that it isn't a company, the company at that point in time interdicted that strike. Now, the envisaged strike. Now, that was the issue, and to our view, that was hostage under any normal circumstances, because members, and if it's so believed that it was purely NUM members that were protesting against its union, their union, it cannot be, because that hostage, members of Solidarity, they were also kept hostage on the ground. Now, they are not members of the NUM, neither they are not members of AMCO or potential members of AMCO also.
So they were kept hostage in your view by whom?
No, not by NUM.
No, by whom?
By other employees who, in their view, they wanted to belong to AMCO. That should be said, because we are not claiming by any means that we are 100% representative in that mine. We are not. Now, that's why I'm saying it might be possible that some of our members have joined AMCO voluntarily, so because it's within their right to do so. But that you want to qualify it as anyone that was a hostage, and it was uncalled for us to do that. We have our own differences, but we cannot resolve to that action.
Mr. Mathunjwa, I appreciate both of your points about not trying to create more animosity than already exists, but if there was some kind of keeping people against their will under the mine by AMCU members, is this something that you've heard and you can confirm that did happen or did not happen? I'm just trying to get a sense of what AMCU understands actually did happen in that situation, because we're getting lots of different narratives.
I mean, if you happen to listen carefully what Comrade Dan was saying, he's not saying it's AMCO members. It's saying potential AMCO members. So therefore, AMCO does not have members in terms of the LRA at the workplace. So hence, my earlier opening was saying it's NUM members who were staging a sit-in protest of exercising a freedom of association, seeing that the employer is frustrating them. So if you said AMCO members, that means we are recognized at the workplace.
But
so
were they members?
My opening was trying to clarify the same point.
But let's distinguish between two things. One, the mine that's represented via the closed shop agreement, and therefore that every member of that mine has to be part of a labor union, the labor union being recognized as NUM, versus people choosing to freely associate with AMCU outside of that labor agreement, you could still theoretically be aligned or affiliated to AMCU outside that agreement, even though your employee agreement is with NUM. So do you think that some of the people there were affiliated to AMCU? Did AMCU have anything to do with the events underground? If it did, are you supportive of what happened, or do you condemn what happened? And I'm not saying you have to do either one, but I'm just interested in what your actual position on those people is, those members, if they are members.
I mean, irrespective of whatever happened, if you are a sober member or a leader, you cannot condone any wrongdoings. You cannot just be quiet and say, no, it was good if it was a hostage.
Sure,
I mean,
sure.
that does not show any leadership at all. But I was just clarifying the point to say AMCU is not recognized in terms of the LRA, what is a member, and according to management in terms of Section 21. Hence, I was emphasizing that these are members of the trade union called NUM who felt maybe frustrated by the way in which things were happening through the employer, not maybe engaging with the trade union of whom they prefer to join as freedom of association.
Okay.
And let me flash it again. I mean, because I think I see you are laboring in that point of a closed shop agreement. A closed shop agreement, it should be treated with caution, because it infringes the freedom of association. Hence, if you look it thorough to it in Section 26, it will say every 3 years the trade union must conduct a ballot to check whether their members who are in the closed shop agreement, do they still agree to be part of the closed shop agreement? Because by its nature, it infringes the Constitution in terms of freedom of association.
Sure. Mr. Mathunjwa, sorry, we just need to go to a break quickly. We're going to come back on this point that you raised about the wider question of the wisdom of closed shop agreements and whether they're serving the sector or they're hindering the sector. But before we do that, let's just go to a quick break. We're discussing mine workers in crucial institutions and crucial parts of the South African economy. Talks of unity between NUM and AMCU, but also divisions emerging around the Gold One mine Moda East shaft of late. We'll be back after this with the presidents of both associations. Stick with us. Welcome back to Unfiltered. We're discussing the mine workers' unions that have been central to our mining industry. We have the presidents of both the National Union of Mineworkers and AMCU with us this evening, and we're discussing a range of issues. Mr. Balepile, could I come to you and just touch on this question that was raised earlier by Mr. Mathunjwa, which is, are closed shop agreements, in other words, these agreements where only one union is recognized as the vehicle to engage with the employer, are they serving the industry or are they not? Do they constrict freedom of association, or are they a means to efficient communication with employers? What's your view?
Yes, it is our view as trade unions, for that matter, that it's not only one must mention that does have closed shop agreements. A majority of trade unions, they do have. But however, we should be considerate of not infringing to these members' rights. It is correct and true that what Comrade Mathunjwa is saying in terms of Section 26, that you need from time to time test whether these members are willing on their own accord to stay in that one, in what that union. Now, because we are trade unions and we want to pursue for membership, either union, even ourselves as the NUM, when we want to venture into some space where other union is majority, will question the whole issue of closed shop. But it's not necessarily entirely that it's not correct for industry, neither it's not correct for the unions. As long as that is done within the framework of the law. And then if either union is not so much unhappy, or members themselves, if they are not unhappy, they could petition the management or the labor court or the CCM to say, we are not happy about this arrangement that we are seeing ourselves being involved in. Now, if it's a union, it is much easier that NUM, AMCU, or any other union for that matter will petition the court and say, can we want to test the majority of this union or the willingness of members in that employees, in that mine, whether they're willing or not.
Would you be happy for that to happen at Gold One?
No. It's not about me being happy.
Well, the organization you represent.
It's not the NUM. I'm representing NUM.
Yes,
would the NUM us being happy or not?
My question, sir. My question is, would the NUM, of which you are president, would the NUM be happy with a ballot arrangement happening at Gold One, where there has been this contestation about should the NUM be the majority union, or should it be a different one? That's the question.
It's not an issue to us. We've been saying that. My first day when I arrived there on Monday, I said to management, you cannot be sitting here whilst your employees are underground. If we want to engage us as a majority trade union, as it stands now, with the issue of invoking Section 26, let's follow all due processes. That we are willing. If the law of this country, a law-binding citizen of the country, and my union that I'm representing is one of those unions. And if we are subjected to that, who am I to say no to that process? We can't.
Okay, that's interesting to hear. Mr. Mathunjwa, you raised the question of closed shop agreements. Do you concur with Mr. Balepile on the fact that they can be useful? And how do you respond to the suggestion that NUM is, in the Gold One instance, open to a ballot to check the majority support?
Yes, I think it's they will be in compliance with the Act. The Act compelled us, whoever has a closed shop agreement, that every 3 years he has to test, as he correctly saying, whether the members of that particular trade union, who is the majority at the workplace, still feel comfortable to be part of closed shop agreement. And the test is, are the benefits or the members of the union still see that they are benefiting through that workplace agreement. In this instance, in their collective agreement, I think Comrade Dan will maybe confirm. In their collective agreement of the closed shop agreement, instead of putting 3 years, they put 2 years. In other words, should be now but 5 times or 4 times that they could have conducted the ballot to test whether the workers or their members, they are still comfortable. However, we did submit the petition, so the ball is in the court of the NUM. I'm glad that he said they are open for that. So we did submit the petition, of which the call is in the NUM to call the ballot for its members to test whether can they confirm this petition that really they no longer want to be part of the closed shop agreement.
And just to round off this issue, are you aware of any disciplinary processes or surrounding what happened at the Moda East shaft? Where to from here in terms of that event?
No, I'm not aware of any disciplinary process that is taking place in that mine. And then one thing that I'm aware of is that the process are undergoing for members to return back to work. Whether there will be disciplinary action that is going to be taken, I'm not aware of that now.
Sure.
And then, but I cannot dismiss that either, because remember, there is a branch committee there is a regional structure. Maybe they should be aware that there is something that is happening. Now, going forward, and then Comrade Mathunjwa raised that issue when we started, and I also raised that issue. Our engagement with particularly your AMCO, but it's not limited to AMCO, because there are many unions in the mining space.
Sure.
Now, but in this one, you play a clip there when you start by saying 2012 that had happened, and then 2018, 2015, and what have you. Then as leaders, we learn from these mistakes. Now, we cannot be from time to time try to play our members against each other at the expense of us leadership. We cannot. Now, it is worrisome when this issue is being pursued in the media space, as if NUM is doing this and AMCO is doing that. Now, I have said, and it's a fact, we are fighting, all of us, for that space in terms of membership and recognition and what have you. But we cannot do that at the expense of our members, because we didn't create these members. We found these members working. Then they have resulted into that by their own accord, whether they join AMCO and NUM. That is the issue. But from time to time, because we are different trade unions with different ambitions. Now, we'll differ, but our differences does not translate into being enemies to each other.
What about the membership itself on the ground? Because I appreciate, and I see tonight, which I think is quite refreshing, the talk, and there have been talks by various leaders about the need, maybe even for unity at some point, which we will get onto later as well. But it does seem to me that in this particular example at Gold One, there were disputes between members on the ground in terms of where they wanted to affiliate. Some at NUM and others, it seems to me, wanted to be affiliated to AMCU. So it's all well and good that at the leadership level there's talk of unity. But at the end of the day, if there's still division, as we saw at Gold One, at the rank and file level, then there are serious issues that would need to be resolved that can't be papered over with just talk from the leadership level.
Yes, and then I want to qualify the statement. I said we have 1,002 to 1,003 membership. Now, if quickly you do your mathematics, it will tell you that around 500 to 600, they are not NUM members.
Sure.
They could have been in the agency fee setup of some sort. Now, it is true that at some point members, they will want to affiliate to AMCO or to any other union. In this case, it's AMCO. And then we know for the fact that there are members that at some point, as Comrade Mathunjwa is saying, and I believe they are over-exaggerating this thing, that they have 1,700 membership.
We'll put that to him.
No, that's over-exaggerating. It's not like that.
But are you worried that AMCU might do in the gold sector what it did in the platinum sector, and it might actually eat into your support? And in fact, maybe this is an example of how that might put you on the back foot.
No. We cannot take Gold One and clap it as a gold sector. We coexist in the entire gold sector. Your Sibanye, your entire Sibanye, and then some of Harmony Mine and other mines in the gold. We coexist. Now, I mean, there's no issue that will tell us that we are worried about whether AMCO occupied that space completely. Then we are from 2012, then it's 2023 today, 21 years down the line. Now, we cannot be worried about that. The only thing that we should be worried about as leadership is to improve the living condition of these mine workers. Now,
Sure.
that is the issue, because I'm a president of the union. I'm an employee of Sibanye, as seated here. Now, in that arrangement, I'm from a branch where is AMCO and NUM in Rustenburg. We coexist. It's not an issue that is a taboo. Yeah, yes, from time to time, our ground leadership will clash at some point, not necessarily that there are bitter rivalry and there are enemies because of this issue of membership.
Let's cut to a break, and Mr. Mathunjwa will come back and start with you to also see the tongue-in-cheek charge that you're overestimating your representation at Gold One as well. And then we'll come to some deeper questions, and also this question of unity that has been raised, moving away from Gold One and seeing what are the prospects of that in the future. Stick with us on Unfiltered. Welcome back to Unfiltered. We're speaking to two unions in South Africa's mining sector, the National Union of Mineworkers and AMCU. You will have seen recently around the Gold One mine, there was a debacle involving workers and exactly which union they would prefer to be associated with, and indeed questions about the tactics involved in mineworkers unions in getting their demands heard. Mr. Mathunjwa, before we left for the break, there was a charge from Mr. Balepile that you may have overestimated your power at Gold One, and I put it to him that, I asked if they were worried that you were going to do in the gold sector what you did in the platinum sector. I wonder how you respond to our exchange there.
Yes, thank you. I think firstly, he also should acknowledge that all workers who are in the bargaining unit at Gold One are members of NUM. So if they are 1,500, 1,000 whatsoever, they are their members. That must be put, because you want to suggest that there are 500 somewhere there, all members in the bargaining unit. If there are 1,700, all are their members. So I think we need just to correct that one. And secondly, we are looking at the stop orders that the workers have signed. So it's not just a thumbsuck. And also we refer to the petition of which the workers have signed. So if we calculate the stop orders, hence it has to go through the management to verify whether these are employees that are working at the workplace. But as we stand, yes, indeed, we've got 1,700 stop orders according to our regional leadership.
And then I put some difficult questions to Mr. Balepile about whether he's worried about the growth of AMCU into the gold sector. Are you worried that tactics used by those, whether they're affiliated formally to NUM, by those affiliated to AMCU, might undermine the image of the union if those tactics are seen to be unfair or going beyond the legitimate demands that workers might have?
Maybe can you explain tactics? What tactics?
Well, the hostage situation as described by Mr. Balepile, which you've also said you disagree with. We know that many people involved in that situation wanted to be affiliated with AMCU, if not had some affiliation with AMCU. So it's those tactics that I'm referring to.
Yeah, I think the same or different media houses, they did interview many of the workers who were coming from underground. And as far as I know, many, they were saying no, it was a voluntary sit-in in protest of exercising our right of freedom of association. There is no fear in terms of whether NUM by AMCO, workers joining AMCO, then there will be animosity. It's a creation of the media, because I've watched a little bit of the clips that you played from 2012 to date. But the recent clip where NUM and AMCO jointly embark on a protected strike fighting against Neil Froneman at Sibanye, why the media hasn't played the clip, where we even marched to Union Building with NUM, where we even wearing one shirt with two logos of the trade unions, NUM and AMCO, in one t-shirt. Why such instances has missed media? But they could go to the archives of 2012, but they cannot go to the archives of, 2 years ago, where we had a 3-month strike jointly, AMCO and NUM at Sibanye Gold. So, we worried how the media try to portray these trade unions. Let me come close again. When I was addressing workers who are potentially to be AMCO members at Gold One, you can go to whichever media, whether it's ENCA was there. It depends, if you are the leader, how you address workers. In the entire speech, I told those workers that you are members of NUM. As of now, when the employer calls you to return to work, you must return back to work, because we are not AMCO members. You just completed stop orders. Those stop orders still has to go through the processes. You are not on strike, whether you are protesting against NUM or the employer. So when the employer calls you back, you must return back to work, because according to the employer and according to the Labour Relations Act, in terms of workplace arrangement, in terms of Section 21, you are not members of AMCO, you are still members of NUM until such time the petition is presented, of which has been presented. The NUM has to call the ballot, to verify such, and then the Section 21 will kick in.
Okay, let me...
Yes.
No,
sorry.
Sure. Let me come to this question then of unity talks, because this is something that you raised at the 10th commemoration of the Marikana massacre. And Mr. Balepile, what do you think of that proposal and that suggestion? Do you think we could see a time when there is actually unity again? Of course, AMCU in some ways came out of the NUM. Mr. Mathunjwa has vocalized a desire ultimately to recognize that you're not each other's enemy. You are ultimately fighting for the same constituency. Could unity happen?
From a leadership point of view, if Dr. Mathunjwa will agree to it, and because it's a process, we'll have to go to our Congress, and AMCO should equally go to their Congress to dissolve two unions. And then I don't want to sit here and lie to the public as if that thing will happen tomorrow. No, in sooner. That is, it won't. But what we are really advocating is that we need to be mature enough in terms of persuading each other when there is disagreement. Now, without treating, because if you have ever worked in the mine, I know you didn't. An RDO cannot
that I have to concede.
Yeah, an RDO cannot be an enemy to an RTO, because they are exploited, both of them. Now, it cannot be that we push that narrative that seeks to suggest that this employees, which happens to be members of AMCO and members of NUM, and they are enemies. Now, The unity talk, if we could clearly suggest that the cooperation between the two unions in terms of where they can agree on issues that can be pursued, that is fine. And that is what all the time we are doing. If we're in the boardroom, we respect the space of AMCO, and AMCO equally respect our space. If we put our proposal across, if they disagree with it, because we are not negotiating with them, neither AMCO is not negotiating with us. We are both of us negotiating with the employer. It cannot be that our disagreement with the employer, it can be translated as the DSC agreement to AMCO. It can't, because AMCO is not employed to anybody, and either NUM is not an employer of these members. We are just all of us in the same interest.
Mr. Mathunjwa, what do you say to that? Because you made a bold call, as I say, at the 10th commemoration, that actually maybe unity is the way forward. Why do you believe that that's possible, and do you think it could happen?
Maybe he must come back home.
Oh, wow.
No.
Mr. Balepile says there's one way to create unity.
You know, if you can listen to that speech, I was calling for unity of the working class. Unity, that means shouldn't be this rivalry that you are busy purporting in a negative way. And further, in the very same commemoration speech, you'll remember I said, we as the working class, we are so vulnerable in such a way that if the SACP was a true vanguard of the working class, wouldn't be so much exposed or exploited by the employer. But however, through the arrangement of prior 1994 of the alliance, so they don't see us as a trade union. Actually, they see us as an outsider. That is what I was trying to bring home, to say the color of the T-shirt and whether we are not part of the alliance, but that shouldn't suggest we are a working class, of which, in a true sense, so SACP supposed to be the vanguard of the working class. If we had challenges, SACP was supposed to jump in, even with the very same Marikana massacre or that protest that was taking place at Marikana, Lonmin. If SACP was independent and the true vanguard of the working class, they would be the one who was supposed to jump in and see to it and search for itself what are the issues, because now it suggests that there was a rivalry amongst the two trade unions, which is not true. I've listened to the narrative that is drawn by the previous clip, one of the media, saying that AMCO called the strike. AMCO never called the strike at Lonmin. You must visit the Falam Commission. There were submission. We were called at a later stage to come and intervene. That was an issue of management of Lonmin and the National Union of Mineworkers, of which it was a majority by then. We had no bargaining right at that mine. So the unity of the working class is paramount important. If we as a working class, we don't join hands together, we'll be exploited until the end.
And just before we go to a break, we are running out of time in this segment, but there were reports, as you say, media reports, that there were more formal talks beyond just the unity of the working class between AMCU and NUM. Do you think, or was that true? And how far are those talks, or was there no substance to those reports?
No, as far as I know, I think was in the JJ Tabane, Professor Tabane, where I made a call that I will go to each and every trade union and federation to call to say, how can we forge the working together as a class? But there are no formal talk or any engagement behind closed door. I think even Comrade President Daniel can confirm that.
We're discussing mine workers' unions in South Africa. The National Union of Mineworkers and AMCU have been two that have risen to the forefront of the popular imagination in South Africa in recent years and indeed decades. And we're asking, are talks of unity appropriate? What about the recent Gold One issue, which seemed to flare up deep tensions between the two unions? Stick with us after the break as we chart the way forward and take some of your questions from social media. Welcome back to Unfiltered. We're in conversation with the leaders of two of South Africa's most renowned mine workers unions, the National Union of Mineworkers and AMCU. Before the break, I promised some social media comments, and let's have a look at what you've been saying on social media, and we'll ask our guests to respond. So we first have a comment from Munewa, who says, "The one thing I hate about unions is that they take advantage of workers by taking them to strikes, and come month end, the workers don't get paid, while union officials get full salaries from the very same workers who are paying union subscriptions, and unions don't compensate them." Let's see what else is being said. Ngwato says, "We're sick and tired of these uncivilized people. We moved on since Marikana." I'm not sure exactly who Ngwato is referring to there. Trade unions are very obsolete. Greedy union leaders milking out bottom-of-the-barrel workers and dragging them into crippling wildcat strikes. And let's see what else is being said on social media. Mzuvukile says, "The rivalry will end the day those two labor unions respect each other and understand that the enemy is the employer. The employer will continue to exploit the workers while they are busy fighting each other." And that is a selection of some of what has been said in social media. Mr. Balepile, would you like to respond to some of the comments that we've had, and then I'll ask Mr. Mathunjwa as well?
Yeah. And then the last one is correct. We need really to grow over the issue of fighting each other, and we know that our enemy, and which is our class enemy, is the employer. Comrade Mathunjwa cannot be my enemy. That's not an issue. But the first tweet, maybe this lack of understanding how unions operate, particularly from the NUM space. I'm a worker myself at Sibanye, Kulondal. When those members, they are on strike, equally, I will be on strike, I won't get paid as well. There's no such a thing that if we lead these members to a strike, the leadership that is associated to that branch or that company will be getting their pay from our side as NUM. There's no such a thing. Now, there is a difference in NUM between officials and worker leaders. This clear distinction different between the two. Now, it is our best interest that we don't want to just take members to a wildcat strike without applying our mind properly. And wildcat strike by its nature is unlawful. Now, we cannot as the NUM do that at this juncture. And now, by referring to the other ones is really kind of insulting. And
yeah, sure,
the second one, I'm not going to waste my time and respond to that one.
Sure.
That second tweet.
Mr. Mathunjwa, what your view on social media and also what Mr. Balepile said in response?
I mean, from the point of view of AMCU, when we go on strike, I think also comrade have seen in our last strike, of which we've been doing even before the joint strike that we do with which we embarked on with NUM. We do give, workers, we do have a strike fund, whereby when the workers, we see that it's over a month, then there will be something that we are paying. I mean, like for instance, let's take the 5-month strikes that we had in the Platinum. I mean, we're paying school fees for the, for those comrades' children in every school. We're paying bonds from AMCU strike fund. So it's not true that when we are on strike, we just live this life where workers, on strike. We do our little bit, but remember, this is a struggle. Unions does not have gold mines. Gold mines are not owned by unions. We are fighting to have a fair gain of the labor of our members. We're fighting to have a decent and also a dignified workplace and a safe workplace. And all these things, it costs money. At the end of the day, there must be someone working. We cannot be all on strike at the end of the day. We should be working.
Your closing thoughts, Mr. Mathunjwa. We have 2 minutes or so left, but any final thoughts that you'd like to enter, whether on the Gold One issue or the deeper questions we've spoken about tonight?
Yes, indeed, the unity of the working class to distinguish itself as a working class is quite important in South Africa. And as we are facing 4,000 odd numbers of the workers to be retrenched by Stillwater, we still have to fight that fight. We'll be together with Comrade President Daniel, and also where he's working at Crondall. They've already signed a wage agreement and we haven't signed. That proves that we coexist. They've signed the agreement, we haven't signed. We are still engaging with Sibai. That shows there is a majority. But I will appeal to media that they shouldn't be biased when they look at their archives. It's not only the archives that you've got that of animosity and rivalry. There are very good things that we've done together with the National Union of Mineworkers and the workplace. In particular, the one of the last strike of 3 months of Sibai. I would love you media to see you playing those clips to the public, to see to it that strike for 3 months. It was peaceful, it was tense. We marched all over to Union Building,
right,
and nothing happened. Lastly, as a working class, I will ask the National Union of Mineworkers, I'm not throwing you under the bus, comrade, to approach the state president to declare 16th of August as a workers' day in South Africa. I've seen him, he's got power to declare the 15th of December to be a public holiday. So I think, Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa, we appeal to you that the 16th of August must be the working a public holiday for the working class in South Africa.
Right.
I see you've got power, you can do it.
Let's leave it there. Mr. Balepile, anything to say? We've literally got a few seconds left.
15 December. Okay. No, thanks, SABC for this interview. We hope and trust that out of this we can build something. And then as the NUM to put on record, I've just received now that the total employees in that mine is 2,500, not the 1,800 that we have been saying. And out of that 2,500, our membership is 1,921, to be precise.
Right.
Now, that is that. Thanks for the opportunity. And thanks, Mathunjwa.
Thank you.
And we hope we meet soon. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Balepile, Mr. Mathunjwa, and thank you for joining us for another installment of Unfiltered. Good evening and join us for the next one.